All right, hello everybody. This is Donovan here with Julia Neiman, of course, and then we've got Luis Carlos today. So Luis, thank you so much for coming.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Happy to be with you guys, and let's have a great time.
That sounds awesome, man. So yeah, I came across Luis a couple of years ago and was part of his parenting summit. And Luis Carlos and Gabby Gonzalez, Luis Carlos Flores and Gabby Gonzalez, they have this amazing program through Niños de Ahora in Mexico. And they are kind of basically world-renowned parenting leaders out there. So it's just a very cool thing to be associated with you guys, because I'm really excited about what you're doing. And it's awesome to have you here. And, you know, Luis Carlos and Gabby, they are both psychotherapists, and they're also parents. They have 3 kids like I do, and they're coaches and speakers. And they've created basically like effective parenting. So they got a program called Método Paternidad Efectiva.
Yes.
Is that pretty good?
That's very good Spanish, Donovan.
Awesome. So they've got an introductory training that they do as part of their launch, and like 500,000 people have checked that out, Luis Carlos. It's amazing. And you guys have, over 1 million people on your Facebook page. So it's really exciting to be connected with somebody that's going to be able to help kids understand, like, hey, how do you build out a presence out there in the online world? So welcome.
Thanks, Donovan. Thanks. Yeah, it's a really important subject. And it being a fact that I'm no longer a teenager, this wasn't easy for me. So yeah, I'm happy to share.
Well, thank you for being here with us. We really appreciate it. You've done amazing. I mean, building your Facebook presence, you've done an amazing job with that. It's very impressive.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Julia. I have to say, it hasn't been easy, especially since we started building our Facebook group. When was it? Around a little over 3 years ago. And at that time, I barely even had a Facebook profile. And so neither did Gabby, my wife. So we were total newbies at this.
So
that's amazing.
I think really what we see is that, you know, there's a need for support in terms of parenting. And you hit on that, and you were able to get out there in the world and get in front of the right people. And then do you find that they brought other people into your Facebook group, or how did this happen? How did you do this?
Well, that's basically that's how it happened. Yeah, we had been working for some time, for several years, with our parenting training programs, but we had done it in schools or in open forums where we invited parents to come. This was all based in Mexico City. Mm-hmm. So, one day we decided to move out of the city. We couldn't be in the noise anymore. We wanted another kind of environment for our kids to grow. And we went to this really nice little town, and we thought, hey, we need to continue to grow our project. We need to continue to connect to parents, but how do we do it? So we figured a way to do it would be to have a blog, which we immediately opened up. And we decided to try this Facebook thing that we saw that people used. You know? Not us, but some people did. So we put up the page, and we started doing clips from our blog. Our articles used to be very long, and this is kind of important. We'll go into that later. So we would bring a clip of that article into Facebook. And actually, at the beginning, we would try posting the whole article on Facebook, and that didn't work very well. They were too beefy. It had way too much information. But, we told people that we were doing this on Facebook, and the word started to spread out. It literally started having, we literally started having under 10 likes on every post. And 3 months later, we started having over 500 likes. I remember on January, we reached 1,000 likes. That was 3 months after our first post. We had 1,000 likes on a single post, and we started having over 1,000 likes on our page. And things started picking up because we learned that it wasn't just about throwing a post on Facebook. The length of the post was important, and the construction of the post. You see, what we do on Facebook is we try to stimulate having a conversation.
Right.
You know, back in the day when we were all somewhat younger, we would have these conversations face to face.
That's right.
This is a new world now. We're having this conversation and we're miles and miles away. And, you know, this is incredible. But each space has a different format for a conversation. And Facebook has one. It's, you know, it's readable. We found that we connected with parents when it sounded like they were just, like we were just talking to them over the phone or in a nice, you know, over a dinner table, for example. If it sounded like that, and it didn't sound so much like reading a medical journal kind of article or a psychological article, then we would connect.
Yeah.
And at the end of each article, we would ask them, hey, what did you think of this article? What did it make you, how do you react to whatever it is you just read? So we would ask them to comment, to have some kind of reaction.
Yeah.
And sometimes we would ask them to ask us questions. And that's when it started getting crazy because, you know, 4 or 5 months later, we would have, you know, like once a week, we would post a specific article and we would have 3 or 4 or 500 comments.
Wow.
They're asking us questions, and it would be an all-day job just to answer that. So you know, from zero to having that level of conversation, it took us about 5 to 6 months. Just, you know, there was a learning curve in the way that we structured our posts. The length of the post and the content itself, the process of the post. That did take some time, but once we kind of got good at it, we saw that the conversation just increased and increased. So that's an interesting thing.
So you got this amazing level of engagement. And how did you handle it? Because I heard like you got 500 comments and all these questions. And it could take you like days to get to 500 questions. How did you end up managing all of that?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. At that point, that was around February, March, when things started getting crazy. We decided that we needed to structure some kind of a business plan to be able to move from, okay, we're having a great conversation to, okay, we're having a great conversation and these parents want to learn more. So we, you know, if they want to learn more, we can create a space where they can learn more and we can exchange value, you know, we can have a value exchange. You can pay for access to a training site, for example, and we can train you. We can give you more content. And so the general idea is, okay, let's we see that there's a need for this kind of content. So let's build the space so we can fulfill that need and provide our content in a more structured way. So we did that, and from the moment that we decided to do it to the moment it was already done and implemented, it took about 10 months. We did take a while, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot more than we thought it would be. But
Now, at that time, was that just you and Gabby, or did you already have some help at that time?
So we started getting help around about 7 or 8 months after we started our Facebook movement. That's when Marcy came in, which you met, Marcy.
Yeah.
And we also had a community manager back then, and he didn't really understand the parenting space. So then we had Anita, who is still working with us, and she was back then a part of the team. And yeah, so step one, once things get crazy, either you post less or engage in smaller, more concise conversations, or you harness the power of the conversation and you direct it somewhere, which, it took us a while to get the hang of it. Learning how to launch was a big part of understanding how to direct the conversation somewhere. But yes, at that point we had to hire people to help. It was unsustainable. I was, typically every day I would answer comments for at least 2 to 3 hours, but sometimes it would be 6-7 hours. So yeah, that was a little crazy. Aside from that, I was working as a therapist, as a consultant here. So, I was basically working all the time.
And that's no way to sustain a business.
Exactly.
That would make you crazy really fast.
Exactly.
But I have to say, like, taking 10 months from the time you decided to do your business plan and strategize. I mean, obviously you have an amazing strategy here because it's working really well. And to only take 10 months to do that is not a long time. So you did a remarkable job.
Thank you, Julia. I have to say there was quite a bit of trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Selling on Facebook is not an easy thing to do because it's not a sales platform.
That's right.
It's a conversational platform.
Yeah, maybe talk about distinguishing, like maybe some people would really assume if you've got a lot of followers, that automatically means you could just direct that conversation, make that nice exchange. You don't have to do anything complicated. You just go from here. Here's lots of likes and comments to here's a bunch of opportunity to have people invest in that deeper conversation. So can you kind of tell us the limitations of that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I can talk about that. It's kind of a funny story because that's exactly what I thought when we developed our first mini online training program product. We thought, wow, we already have 150,000 fans on our page, and we have so much engagement. So the minute we post, hey, here's this product, click here. It costs, $197. I think it was something like $150. And we thought the minute we post this thing is going to go crazy and we're going to have so many sales. And I remember that we made like 2 sales in a whole week, and then we brought the post down. It was a little frustrating.
More than a little frustrating. My goodness, like 150,000 people and you had just a couple. That's got to be like mind-blowing.
We did not understand
wow.
how to sell online, and particularly in Facebook. It's not what you do. People, they see a sales offer on Facebook and they turn away.
Yeah.
They want to see cool stuff. They want to see interesting articles. They want to receive information. They want to be inspired. They want to see what's going on with their neighbor or their friends or their family. That's what they go there for. They don't particularly go to check out, deals or sales. So it's a big turnoff in that space, and we didn't know that at the time. We might have had a plan, but the implementation of that plan was kind of tricky. So what we did was basically we invited people on our Facebook community to come visit we already knew how to move them from Facebook into our blog. And they loved our blog. So there was this whole dynamic, this flow between Facebook and our blog. So what we basically did was, hey guys, we're gonna have this free training for parents in this other space right here. Why don't you come along and register for that training, and we're gonna blow your minds away. This is generally speaking. And so that worked really well because they were in Facebook and they received an invitation to get some free training material that was relevant to them.
That's right.
And they really liked our message. And it was, I don't think our community had even seen us on camera before that point. Most of them hadn't. So when they went to this other space and they saw us on video and, doing all of our teaching process, which was a 3-part video series, they really liked it and they got to know us. They got to trust more on us. And we had some time and space to really build momentum through this video series. And at the end of the series, we invited them to, hey, if you want to continue this training, there's a lot more that we want to share with you guys, and you can do it here. So it kind of made sense. It's a process that as you mentioned, Donovan, Jeff Walker does masterfully. And at that time, we didn't really understand, but we stuck to it, and it just made sense. And that's how we were able to move from having a huge following on Facebook to actually having a business model that would complement all the work that we did on social media with our training platform, which was a very serious project, which was really the end of this whole thing. We want to be able to teach parents across the whole Hispanic world how to be much better parents, effective parents. Mm-hmm. And we want to be able to do it in a sustainable way. It has to work as a business also.
It does. One thing that you said that I think is really important, because young people today are so, they want instant gratification, and if they don't get it right away, they let it go. And what you said was, we stuck with it. And that's so important. You have to stick with it. And I try to give everybody realistic expectations. It takes approximately 2 years to really get any traction in a business. I mean, there are some people that, yes, there's something that they have may be so brilliant, they may be so funny and witty that they just get traction right away. But on average, it takes 2 years before you really start moving forward. So you've got to stick with it.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely right, Julia. I have to tell you, it seems like we kind of exploded out of nowhere, but before even, going online on Facebook, we had been thought leaders on parenting in Mexico for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And, we constantly did articles for magazines, and we appeared on TV all the time. And so there's a lot of work on the invisible side of, before we even started this project. Then there's the other thing, which is when you build a community. I love something that Jeff says, and it refers to the community as your market. And he says, you are never smarter than your market. So one of the things that we really have, grown, we have really learned how to do, and we continue to learn how to do better and better, is to listen to our community.
Yes.
As if any of us were to start a new project, a new space, we would have to target to try to find people that really are open to having a conversation about whatever it is we want to build. It can be it can be just about anything. Sports cars, or a new trend in clothing. It could be anything, but we have to be able to find the people that will want to have that conversation. And once they come to that space, then the smartest thing to do is to have a two-way conversation in which, I propose a subject, but I'm open to interacting with people that come in, and they usually start coming in every day. Once you get the hang of this, you'll get hundreds of people coming in every day or every month, every week. And the sooner you engage them and the more you engage them in a conversation, asking them, what do they like? What do they dislike? What do they expect to learn or to take away from this space? What would they like to be able to apply at home? Is this merely for entertainment, or is it about entertainment and learning a skill set? What is it about? It needs to be very clear. And the person that is coming into the community has to immediately be able to understand what they're going to get once they are in there.
Luis Carlos, do you use, Ryan Levesque is having a launch right now with his Ask method. Is that one of those ways that you get that two-way conversation going? I know Jeff Walker also says to use, I'm just about to present this, and now is there anything else that I've missed or that you want to know now that you've heard that part of it? So do you kind of use a combination of both of those or something else?
Actually, on my last two launches, we started implementing Ask's methodology, but not full on. We are still in the learning process. We will be using it fully on our next launch. And yes, Ryan is amazing using his whole Ask method, teaching it. And yes, I definitely recommend to, more than just implementing Ask in a launch. The Ask method has a lot of value in terms of how to connect with the community, understand their needs, and how to, even using quizzes online, on Facebook, on your own landing site, how to engage the community and get relevant information from them so that you can serve them in a better way. Ask is incredible. It's really important. I definitely use it. Yes.
Yeah, I find you have to ask, you have to know what your community wants, what they're coming to you for. Sometimes what you believe that you're offering and what they perceive that you're offering are two different things. So you have to get that clarity with your audience. I really believe that, and the Ask method is a great way to do that. And you have to be both educational, but when you hear what they want, then you need to figure out a way to serve them. And so many people in the online space don't do that. They go, this is what I'm offering. You either want it or you don't. And that's not a way to build a business, as you've learned. You have to listen to what people want and then figure out a way to deliver that to them.
Absolutely right, Julia. Absolutely. That is one of the cornerstones of any online business.
Yeah.
learning how to listen to your market, how to really understand what they need, and how, and from that standpoint, how to serve them. This is absolutely key.
Yeah, and question is the key to everything. You have to be able to ask the right question to get the answer that you need so that you can serve your community better.
Would you be able to give an example maybe of a good example of how you might kickstart a conversation in a good way that would get things rolling and that conversation started versus maybe like a common mistake?
Okay, so there are many questions that you can ask depending on which is your objective. For example, in my community, we once in a while, we actually have it in the calendar, we open up the conversation of whether to spank or not to spank at all kids. So, this is one of those conversations that has to be handled in a special way because it really fires up emotions in parents.
Yeah.
We generate a lot of controversy when we open this one up. So we have to make sure that it is handled ethically, that it's also handled in a way that doesn't offend either party, because if we open up with a question, then any answer is valid. Many parents will think that, oh, my dad used to smack me whenever I needed it, and thanks to him, I grew up to be this great guy. And and others will say, hey, that's the way it used to be, but it doesn't have to be that way. Some others will say they never hit me or spanked me, and I turned out okay also. So, we have this conversation that can become very intense.
Yes.
So we have to be very clear on the rules. How we treat and respect each other in this online space. Online also, talking about respect. Normally when you're face to face with someone, you will naturally have some boundaries, but online it's easy to hide behind your profile and you can be a lot more offensive sometimes, or you might say things that you wouldn't say when you're face to face or otherwise. So being clear on how you want to lead the conversation in your space is also really important. So that's one type of question that you can ask. Ask a question that'll generate polarity, differences within your group. You can also ask questions that will clarify what kind of potential client you may have. For example, in my space, I have several potential clients, but my two main ones are parents that have been what we call reactive parents that tend to lose control and shout, scream at their kids, or maybe even spank. And they know that they want to stop doing that, but they don't know how to.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one type of parent. So my question would be, do you often explode with your kids, even when you don't want to?
Oh.
That's one type of question that it may come up in a post, or I may just ask it directly and, have a lot, have a whole conversation around that question. The other one is, my other type of main client is parents that go through the trouble of buying books, reading, studying how to be a parent, mainly via books, that's kind of like the main resource that's out there.
Mhm.
And they go online and they read blogs and they have different opinions on different subjects, and they kind of know what they're doing or what they want to do. They're informed parents, but sometimes they feel unsure of what they're doing. Sometimes they don't know if they're being too permissive with their kids, they're allowing them to do too many things, if they're not setting boundaries properly, if they're unsure of themselves, and they would like to follow some kind of method that they could trust, and that they really could deepen their knowledge on how to be better parents. So we call those proactive parents. And those are also a very important group of potential clients. So we have another line of questions to address their needs and their interests.
Nice.
So,
tell me a little bit about, so if you have that question, then you have your part of the conversation that you're going to put out there in terms of content to kickstart it. I know it's kind of conversational and casual, like over dinner. What else is kind of part of that structure, and when does it become maybe too long? You said there's like a good length.
Okay, you mean as far as a post?
Yeah, so if you're starting that conversation, it's that time of year to, let's say, talk about, proactively, like how would you like to expand your abilities and be more, have a more of a trusted method. So maybe you kick off a conversation. Then when you talk about the structure of the Facebook post for that maybe connects with a blog post, how did you change from maybe being too lengthy on the blog post and too lengthy on the Facebook? Where are you at now if you were to kind of describe that structure?
Okay, yeah. So that kind of that is like the broad conversation. But what I would do is break it down into different subjects, because if it's too broad, it will simply take forever to talk about in Facebook. But for example, I can talk about behavioral. Okay, so I think about this in Spanish because my whole model is in Spanish. So sometimes I have to translate on site.
Yeah.
So this is a tough one.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, so in our training, one of the first steps that we, on our free training, one of the first steps that we help parents take is to understand our behavioral styles model. So what we say is there's basically 3 types of behavior in children, and there are 3 leadership styles in parents. And there are ways in which they can clash or they can match. And so I will break that down even further, and I will ask a question like, okay, so do you have a son or a daughter that is the strength character type? And then I'll go ahead and describe this type. Speaking of a post, I'll go ahead and describe it. So I'll start with a question, and maybe I will add a couple of questions underneath that will land the question even further, that'll land that plane. Sort of to say, does your child throw a tantrum whenever you have to change an activity from one activity to another? Or does he always want to dress up with whatever clothes he or she chooses? Does he always wants to choose his food also, whatever he wants to eat? So this character type, this child character type, the strength type, has a lot of willpower. So it will behave in a certain way, and I will describe exactly how he or she behaves, and the typical problems that arise when parents try to clash because of their own parenting style. So this is what I call creating a conversation, but I leave it typically in Facebook. I will leave it kind of open, so that at the end of the conversation, they will be asking more questions, or I will lead them into a special training video, for example, where they can see more about that subject, or they can see all of the character types and the parenting styles and how they match and how they clash. I will lead them there. So if I have 3 different types of kids, those are 3 different conversations that I can have in Facebook that will lead the community into a training video, for example.
That's a great strategy. That's
And
really good strategy. And before you go on, I don't want to lose this thought, because going back to when you were talking about the questions, there were a couple of things you mentioned, how you engage. So what I heard you say was you should have rules of engagement and make sure everybody is on the same page. And then without saying the words, you implied that you create a safe space for people to say what they need to say and ask what they need to ask. And I think that's so important in a group if you want to maintain a level of civility and actually have people continue to engage with you. It has to be a safe space for them to do that. So I didn't want those 2 learning points to go by without acknowledging them. So thanks.
right, absolutely true, Julia. You'd be surprised how many times, even though we establish the rules, you know, we sometimes we get blindsided because we already know, or we think we know, where the conversation is going to lead. And all of a sudden, we're in the middle of this battle between parenting types and styles and approaches.
Yeah.
And you know, we need to be able to address that within the community. And this can happen in any type of community. You know,
That's right.
people disagree.
That's right.
As long as we understand how to handle it with a bit of civility and you know, properly, safely, then it's okay.
Yeah.
How do you maybe manage one of those situations where maybe that first time you came upon it and you're like, oh no, there's these people that are battling and they're on different sides. I'm sure you got to handle that better and better over time. But what did you kind of establish as your approach for that, your method?
Okay, so since people, when they come into our Facebook space, they kind of, well, they get to choose what they read. So it's an open community forum.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we have the rules on how to interact posted, most people will not read them. So yeah, so that's a thing. So whenever we're gonna bring a touchy subject, when we are closing the post, when we're coming to an end, we kind of, if we already know, which is most of the time we already know, if we know what could happen, where the conversation could lead, then we reestablish the rules of engagement for that post. So we would kindly ask them, for example, say something like, we understand that that there may be different opinions regarding to this matter. So we invite you to state your opinion and even disagree with someone else's opinion, but do it in a civil way without judging or attacking another person's point of view. As long as we do this in this spirit, this will bring us all to open our points of view and grow. Well, I'll say something like that.
Yeah.
And so in that way, we establish the tone of the conversation and we give it some direction. Because like I said, there's new people coming in all the time. And they may not know how the community is kind of used to interacting. Sometimes someone will come and make a harsh comment, and the community will take care of it beautifully, because they're used to the tone, because we took care of setting the tone of the conversation.
I love that. That's a really good point. You have to take responsibility for setting the tone of the conversation within your own community. That's a good one.
Yes, absolutely. And in my case, it's all about parenting, but there are so many different spaces, and I guess what I'm trying to say is you have to understand how you want the dynamic within your space to go about, because the objectives can be very different. They can be very social, very conversational. They can be all about having fun, but you might get a person that doesn't agree on how you guys are having fun, or may start to make fun of people inside the space, So anyway, this typically happens. It's the online space. There are no rules, so to speak, or there are very little rules. So in your space, you have to be responsible. You have to take charge of how that's going to happen.
You do.
Carlos, so if you're looking at the next generation, this is the first gen, like you're part of it, we're part of it. So anybody really that's been building online businesses, it's not like it's 3-4, generations down the road. This is the first generation of this happening. When we look at the next generation coming in, and there's this new real world that's like a hybrid almost, right? It's online, it's in person. What do you think this next generation really, like if you were talking to your own kids, let's say, and you're like, this is how you're ready for this new real world, what would you really like to pass on to give them the best chance of thriving, maybe doing even better than this generation? What kind of thing would you say to the kids out there?
Wow, that's a really great question, Donovan. I feel like, yes, on my business, we're doing really well. We own the Facebook space and everything, but I feel like I'm a couple of steps behind what's really happening, because the whole world is changing so fast, and today's kids, teenagers, and they're moving even faster than we are in our business. We're addressing my generation, but they speak in a different space and at a different pace also. So one of the great things that I'm starting to work on with my kid, he's 14. He has been dabbling, wanting to do a blog. But what he told me a couple of months ago was, Dad, you know what? I can't do a blog like you. My friends, they won't read me at all. I have to do a vlog, a video blog. I need to do a YouTube channel.
That's right.
And I want to use this and that and all these cool tools that they're out there, and so we're working on that project. I'm helping him a bit. He knows more than me, so it's fun, because I know all these things about the online world in a macro scale, but he knows all the tricks.
Yeah.
And how to do it
from each other.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm helping him have some structure in his project, but he can't have too much structure to start out. He just wants to publish, and so it's a great way to start. Just get out there, just start doing your thing, start connecting with people, get a feel for how people react to your message, and, start a conversation. Whichever space you choose, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or any other, it's fine. But it follows the same principles. Maybe the speed is a little different, but it's the vehicle you choose to use. Okay. There's also Facebook Live. You can also do a whole platform using just speaking to the camera and to your audience through that camera.
Yeah.
There are many, many different ways. And the thing is, I think if you're starting out, you need to just do it. Just get out there.
Absolutely.
Some reactions, and you will evolve from there. I think that's the most important step. Just get out there and do it.
That's exactly right. And your 14-year-old son, his audience will be 14 years old for the most part, right? And so he's speaking to his own, and they'll appreciate it whether it's perfect or not.
Exactly.
That's what it is. He's speaking to them from where they're coming from, and they'll love it.
Exactly. And if you are thinking about doing something really sophisticated, that's great also. But bear in mind that there's a learning curve, and people may not react the way you expect them to when you put all those hours into doing something really sophisticated. So just get out there, do your thing, and, perfect it as you go.
That's exactly right. That's what we're doing with these interviews too for this Master Trainer series. We're just having these conversations. We're not editing. They're going out as is. And we just want to model to people, just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it out there. The information is what's valuable, not exactly if it's delivered perfectly or not. That's not the important thing. It's the information, the learning that happens, and what we're bringing forward is important. So just do it. I love that.
Exactly. You know what, Julia? I think that the imperfection of all these little imperfections about how I try to say what I'm trying to say, and how I stumble and fumble around, that also speaks, that also shows who I am authentically.
That's right.
So there is beauty in that. So just be yourself. Just lay it out there. However it comes out, it's fine. Some people may judge you, others won't. You can be the best judge of who you are and where you want to go. You should be your best and only judge.
That's right. And the people that are going to judge you harshly or be negative, they're not your ideal audience anyway. So it has its own filters. But I love that you said be authentic, because that's the most important thing in business. I think today, when you're in this online space, if you're authentic, you're your real self, you're honest all the time, nothing will come back to bite you.
Exactly.
You try to be slick and you make stuff up and you try to be, you're not real. You try to be something you're not. That is going to put you out of business really fast.
Luis Carlos, a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of teenagers really struggle with that, and they want to maybe play it safe. What kind of tip would you maybe have to have somebody, and this might be kind of leading into our final point here, what kind of tip would you have for a young person that's just like, well, I'm kind of afraid of being myself and being judged and rejected? What's one way to deal with having a little bit more belief or confidence?
Right. So there's a very practical way, which is just, if you want to record a video and you're afraid of putting it out there, think about this. Just what happens if you only record it and you watch it and you be your first judge, and then you go ahead and find a couple of friends and you show them your video. You haven't posted it online yet, and you get their honest feedback and reaction. And then you maybe show it to a couple of people that practically don't know you. That's where the big risk is, right? But you're not online yet. You're just, you know, trying this thing out. And you show it to them and ask them for their honest reaction. Okay? And if you're happy with their reactions, go ahead and post it. Okay? So if you take it like that and you do that a couple of times, and if you're not happy, you can always redo the video.
That's right.
You can always, you know, just go ahead and try another format, or try some idea that you got from them. You can always do that. Just remember not to make this, you know, so hard that you have to show it to 50 different people, the 10 different versions so that it's right, exactly perfect. You know, there's no such thing as perfect.
That's right.
But try this simple step process in which, you know, you see it, see if you like it, show it to a couple of friends, and show it to a couple of non-friends, and see how they react and get a little feedback. That may, you know, help you get a good grounded confidence in whatever it is you want to lay out there. Okay?
I think that's really great advice. And I think I would add to that in being authentic about that. You know, play to your strengths. Like if you have a really good sense of humor and people tell you you're really funny, play to that. Make that a part of your video. But if humor doesn't work for you, don't do humor. If you're better at teaching something, then teach something. You know, so just play to your strengths and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I have a great tip. You know, I think it's more for old timers like some of us. But you know what I used to do to be able to talk to the camera? I used to have a picture of my wife behind the camera, or my mom. I have a picture of my mom and dad. I used to put it behind the camera.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't know. This happens to me. I see young people don't struggle with this as much. But for me, it was like, who am I talking to? Who's there? That was really tricky for me. It took me a while to get the hang of, you know, having a feel for having someone behind the camera. So yeah, online, when you speak, you're basically speaking to one person at a time. You know, I don't care if it's 100,000 people watching you on video. Most of the time, well, there's going to be one person on their phone looking at your video. So you can talk like you're having a one-on-one conversation, just like this. And you know, but you have to have your mind understand how that works in order to feel natural talking to a camera. Otherwise, it's kind of, you know, it doesn't work out as well. I don't know if you'll have any trouble doing that, but, you know, for me, it was a big thing. It took me a while. And, you know, just realize that there's a learning curve. There's, like in everything, in school and every single thing you've learned, there's a process. So kind of accept it and respect that process. You will get better over time.
You will. And, you know, that's interesting. This is a whole, a really good example of the generational thing, because I'm the oldest one here on this interview, and I grew up, I didn't have all this technology growing up, you know, so the kids today are used to this technology. They don't know a time when the technology didn't exist. So it's a perfect example of a generational thing, you know. And yeah, it's taken me, I still haven't done Facebook Live yet, but that's my next project. I'm going to get there. I have enough trouble with this, like we're on Zoom, and I know if I look at the lens, I'll be talking into the camera, but when I'm the one being focused and it's my picture up there, I have a tendency to look over to the side where everybody's in the little picture and talking to you over there. So it's still a little awkward for me, but I'm getting there. So you're right. It takes practice. Yeah.
Well, you do great, Julia. I can't believe you haven't done Facebook Lives yet.
Not yet. not yet. But I did look at this. I just invested in a new camera.
Woo!
And I'm going to set it up, because trying to hold my cell phone and do that is like, no, that was not working for me. So I got a camera and I'm going to practice, and pretty soon you'll see me on Facebook Live.
Cool, cool.
I'm determined. Yeah.
All right,
So-
Luis Carlos. So I think we've come to the time that we've got scheduled for you today. It's just been, man, incredible. This was so fun, man. This was just so much great information. You know, I'm working with parents and kids too, so I'm listening both from the ear of, hey, there's cool things to do on social media, and then I'm also listening to how you lay out the ways that you connect with parents. So it's just been an amazing opportunity to get a look behind the curtain, so to speak, for what you're doing. How do people get a hold of you? I mean, you're like almost always the first feed on my Facebook. So I'm following you on Facebook, and it's like Niños de Hora every time, right at the top, because you guys are always, posting. So how do you want people to get a hold of you?
So you can easily find me on Facebook. It's written Ninos de Ahora. It's in Spanish, so I'm gonna have to spell that one. It's NINOSDEAHORA. Ninos de Ahora. In English, that would be today's kids.
Awesome.
Let me pull that up.
Awesome.
You can find it there, and my whole team is always kind of available there on that space. So I'll be happy to meet you there, to find you online.
You have an amazing Facebook page, and your business is amazing. You know, I actually started out in the parenting space. I'm a clinical social worker. And I started out in the parenting space when I came online, and I realized that wasn't really the part of my work that I love the best. And what I loved the best was when I helped my clients who had some really intense mental health issues, when I helped them start a business that they actually started earning money from, so that they didn't have to be on welfare the whole rest of their life. That was the part that I loved the most, and that's what gave birth to Monetize Your Passion Academy.
Wow.
And hopefully we're going to have engagement like you do. Look at these numbers. Oh my gosh, this is like you're a rock star. You and Gabby are rock stars at this. It's amazing, and you have a beautiful site there. I mean, I think it's the perfect balance between the pictures, memes, and the postings. You know, what you have written. It's a really good balance. It's colorful. I think it's a really good example, and everybody should really look at how you put this together and use it as a model, because you've done a fabulous job.
Thanks, Julia. Thank you so much.
And Luis Carlos, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all your insight about how to build a successful Facebook community.
Thank you. Thank you guys for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure for us too. So thank you very much, and hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Yeah, I like your Spanish.
Take care, Luis Carlos. Adios.
Big hug.